Tyranitar has done his job, Sideman. Gonna let it go down and take shield advantage. He can now wait out his timer, send in Buzzwole, commit to the counter farm down. We know Garchomp will be returning, tough decision to make. Do we call a Sand Tomb or do we respect a big move? We shield up with Earth Power, great shield. The opponent's final Pokemon is Melmetal. Sideman farms up, forces CMP on the Super. Immaculate, perfect gameplay. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to school. Huge shout out to Sideman. He's been to school, he's graduated, he was the student and now he is the teacher. Today we have an incredibly impressive showcase. Sideman saw my latest Galarian Moltres video in the Open Master League and I said just how hard it is to run Spice. So Sideman set himself a challenge of reaching Legend using just Spice. Today Buzzwole is the most meta relevant Pokemon, ranked at 39th in the Open Master League. You can see on the screen Sideman is already Legend. He was actually one of the first 10 trainers this season to reach that, which is very impressive. Huge congrats to him. Master League's full of Dragons, Ghost, Zacian, Steel types and the primals, and we're using none of them. Regardless of that, we are going to reach that threshold of Legend once again, repping this spicy team. Without any further ado, let's jump into the battles. And in game one, we pick up a great lead. Buzzwole into Melmetal. Sideman knew he could tank one neutral rock side. He then forces CMP with the superpower on the second move. Immaculate gameplay. We now shield up the rock side. The opponent knows we played to CMP the first time, so Sideman throws the superpower one before the next CMP tie. This allows him to win lead and not allow the opponent to make a catch. The opponent sends out Ursaluna and we answer with our save switch of this Bite Shadow Tyranitar. Despite Buzzwole having a positive matchup into Ursaluna, we obviously want to reset our debuff as we did fire off two superpowers which double debuffs our attack and our defense. Sideman correctly shielded up a high horsepower. He returned fire with the crunch. The opponent let it go and they've actually got a second ground type in the back. So you can see saving Buzzwole was a really good play, as my god does Nihilego not fancy any of this Groudon. Despite typing advantage with the opponent, look at the bite damage. They're already down to below 50% HP. We force the final shield with the crunch. The opponent realises they can't farm down. Go for a fire punch undercharge. Sideman reactions like a cat, pivots out into his Buzzwole. Non-stab fire punch, not enough to secure the knockout. Sideman lands the superpower, and despite the opponent running double ground and us being double weak to ground, we're off to a very, very impressive 1-0 start. In the next battle, we see a huge core breaker for the team. Landorus has access to Stone Edge and Buzzwole will take neutral due to being a bug and fighting type. Sideman shields up the Stone Edge as we've got access to Lunge. That is the correct play, as we can debuff them, meaning subsequential Stone Edges will do less. The opponent attempts to force CMP to the next Lunge. Buzzwole definitely does not win that CMP tie. Landorus as a whole 40 attacks that higher. Great recognition from Sideman. We overfarm, fire off the next Lunge. That doesn't secure the knockout. The opponent survives on minimal HP. Sideman knows this is only a superpower. We actually win lead despite only hitting for resisted the entirety of the time. The opponent sends out Lugia. We pivot into Tyranitar, drawing out Dialga, and my god, Sideman has the exact alignment that he wants. The oppressive Shadow T-Tar forces the first Protect Shield with the crunch. Sideman going to invest his final Protect Shield here. Can we get the bite farm down? It's going to be close. Dialga makes a move on minimal HP, but my god, is this game over. We can send out Buzzwole, one counter, takes them out. We then throw one counter and the Lunge for optimal fast move timing. Sideman going to be permanently debuffing this Lugia. We pivot out into Nihilego, the absolute wall. The opponent is going to have to be running Hydro Pump to have any chance of winning this game. However, even a debuff, non-stab Hydro Pump, not going to cut it. The opponent didn't shield the Rock Slide. The opponent full sends an Aero Blast, debuff, that does absolutely nothing, and the opponent concedes the match. Another beautifully played game. Sideman out here showing why he's one of the best players in the world with an impressive 2-0 start. Fucking hell, another ground type. However, this Garchomp is running Dragon Tail. Sideman fires again at great fast move time, and you want to throw up 1, 4 or 7 when using 2 turn versus 3 turn. The opponent farms up to what could be an outrage. Sideman calls the bait. What a play, it is a bait. This now allows him to reach the superpower, looking to force a shield off the opponent. The opponent does oblige with a shield and we see the aggressive pivot into T-Tar. Again, we're met with another ground type, but look at the difference in damage output. Bite tearing apart this mole, whereas the mud shots aren't doing much. Sideman invests his first Protect Shield, returns fire. With the crunch, Excadrill puts up a shield. The opponent going to be forced to throw energy. Tyranitar has done its job. We allow it to go down. Sideman going to wait out his timer. We can now send in Buzzwole for the counter farm down. We know Garchomp will be returning. Are we going to call a Sand Tomb, or are we going to invest the shield? Sideman shields up the Earth Power, great shield. The opponent's final Pokemon is Melmetal. Sideman playing absolutely immaculately, forcing CMP. Super Power does huge damage to Melmetal. Melmetal now going to dump its energy. Rock Slide does take us out. It's now all down to Nihilego. Let's see just how bulky this jellyfish is. Melmetal can hit us for neutral with both Rock Slide and Super. They fire off the Super, and wow, Nihilego shrugs it off really easily. The opponent should be top left in, or I've got a nasty feeling they're about to get BM'd. Back out comes Garchomp. The opponent wants the smokes. They can eat a BM Sludge Bomb to the face, and that's going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. Again, we see Sideman beat a double ground team when we've got two things weak to ground. Moving on to the next battle. We see another ground type, but this is one that Buzzwole definitely wants to see due to the sub. Ice type and count are going to be tearing apart Mamoswine. The opponent goes straight for the Avalanche. Sideman tanks that. Buzzwole shows really good bulk. Sideman then throws 5 counters and the lunge, maximising his energy gain as Mamoswine was about to reach the Avalanche. We would lose CMP. The opponent sends out Ho-Oh. We pivot out into Tyranitar. Drawing out Hydreigon. Fucking hell, look at the bites. Bites are resisted. We're taking neutral from Dragon Breath, but the damage output isn't actually that far off, being pretty even. The opponent's already invested a shield on the crunch. Sideman just going to allow Tyranitar to go down. Brutal Swing doesn't take us out. We come into Buzzwole. Sideman is going to respect the Brutal Swing. We return fire with the lunge. Lunge going to be lethal. The opponent lets it go. Back out comes Ho-Oh, and here comes Nihilego. Does the opponent have Legacy Earthquake? Moment of truth. Sideman thinking about it. Last second we commit a shield. The opponent fires off the Sacred Fire, and I think that definitely means their second move is going to be Brave Bird. Sideman returns fire with the Rock Slide. Ho-Oh commits a shield. Come on, trainer, show us the Earthquake. The opponent fires off one more Sacred Fire, and then they concede the match. GG's. I actually looked that matchup up on PvPoke, and Earthquake would have done 105% as we had double weak to ground. In the next battle, we see another Landorus. We've seen this play out before. We know Sideman is going to stay in and he's going to shield up the first Stone Edge. Buzzwole actually not too bad in this matchup, despite us only hitting for resisted the entirety of the time we fire off the resisted lunge. However, Landorus takes quite a lot of damage. The opponent pivots out into Zacian, and here comes Nihilego. The opponent farming up a boatload of energy, allowing Nihilego to go for the Sludge Bomb. The opponent calls the Rock Slide a #NoBait on this channel, and the opponent concedes the match. And you can see there Sideman running this super spicy team, meeting numerous ground types with double weak to ground, goes a perfect 5-0 to re-hit Legend rank. You love to see it. We're now going to take a look at some bonus battles. Buzzwole into Zacian. Evidently not a fantastic lead. However, we are ABA weak to Zacian, as Tyranitar definitely don't fancy seeing this either. Again, Sideman throws the lunge at great fast move timing. The opponent farming up a boatload of energy. Play rough, does 75% of our HP. We call the opponent's twin nukes. Holy crap, what a call. The opponent lowers their own defense. We fire off the next lunge, getting this Zacian super low. I've got no idea why you'd throw close combat and not wild charge, as wild charge is neutral. The opponent fires off the wild charge the next time. Buzzwole shrugs it off. Zacian now forced to dump another one, or they'd get counter farm down. We come into Tyranitar. The opponent aggressively switches out into Dialga, and this is fantastic as Nihilego now doesn't have to see it. Sideman definitely going to be shielding up the Iron Head, and we are going to return fire with the crunch. Sideman over farms massively, firing off the crunch. If the opponent lets it go, the slow bite generation gives us a chance of making another charge move. The opponent invests that final Protect Shield. They make the Iron Head on minimal HP. Sideman putting it all on Nihilego. We come in get the resisted poison jab farm down. The opponent sends out Giratina. Holy smokes, how do we beat Giratina? Giratina's sub ghost typing means that the poison jabs will be resisted and Rock Slide doesn't do all that much damage. Sideman still has one protect shield. Last second we shield up a Shadow Ball, a great play. The opponent still has a potential sack swap. We continue to farm up. We don't see the opponent attempt to catch yet. We tank the Shadow Ball on minimal HP. We fire off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide should be forcing the final shield off the opponent, which it does. We pause a turn, fire off the next Rock Slide. Is Rock Slide enough to secure the knockout? No, it's not. We get the jab farm down. Zacian is super low and we're going to manage to tie. Wow, incredibly close game. In the next battle, we leave Buzzwole into solgaleo. Yikes, we're not going to appreciate the fire spin, so we see the instant pivot into T-Tar, drawing out Dialga. Sideman goes for the crunch. We lose charge move priority. We are going to shield the Iron Head. We really want to see a defense drop. Come on, RNG, do us a favor. Crunch. Do we get the defense drop? No, we don't. We've seen no defense drops throughout this video, and that is going to mean Dialga on 1 HP and a dream is going to reach the Iron Head. If you get the defense drop, Tyranitar does manage to bite down. We can't invest our final protect shield here, so we can now send back in Buzzwole with an energy lead. This isn't the worst matchup, as the counters are going to hit for neutral, as is the lunge. However, Psychic Fang is super effective. We shield it up. We're now going to return fire with the lunge. Our defense is now lowered and these fire spins are really going to start chunking. We draw the final shield off the opponent. We are now going to have to tank a Psychic Fangs. This is non-stab. We do survive on pretty low HP. Again, we farm up, fire off the lunge. The opponent has no protect shields remaining. Lunge doesn't do all that much damage. We pivot out into Nihilego. The opponent's got Rayquaza in the back. Another Pokemon with access to a debuffing move. Break and Swipe does lower our attack. However, Trainer, no debuff is going to save you. Rock Slide, super effective, and Rayquaza an absolute glass cannon. We get the knockout. Back out comes solgaleo. We're firing off the resisted Rock Slide. This gets solgaleo incredibly low. The opponent going to be forced to throw energy. I think we might survive a Psychic Fangs. The opponent agrees, firing off the Iron Head. Buzzwole 2 counters secure the dub. Let's fucking go. Great game. In the next battle, we see what we can only say as another fucking yikes lead. We see the pivot into Bite T-Tar, and again the opponent answers with the Tin Can known as BDD, Best Buddy Dialga or Basic Bitch Dialga, as I much prefer. We go straight crunch. Again, we don't see the defense drop. My god, RNG isn't on our side. The opponent now farms up massively. This time Sideman opting to take his shield advantage. There's no real point in playing out the one shield, as T-Tar would be solo and we would get incinerated farm down. We come into Buzzwole, look for the farm down, we don't get it. Again, we're going to opt for the no shield. Iron Head doesn't do too much damage, and it's now time for Nihilego. Nihilego looking to sweep. Let's see what the opponent's got in the back. The opponent stays in with Ho-Oh. They farm up and they send out Lugia. My god, the opponent absolutely core broken. We do need to be mindful the opponent could have Legacy Earthquake. Rock Slide does a whole heap of damage to Lugia. Nihilego already the next Rock Slide. The opponent opts to invest the final Protect Shield. Nihilego still with 2 Protect Shields to hide behind. Sideman probably going to call this. We actually do shield up the Sky Attack. However, Nihilego sitting pretty comfortable. We farm up, fire off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide will be lethal. The opponent only has the Ho-Oh left with no Protect Shields. Is this going to be a Legacy Earthquake Ho-Oh? We take no chances. We shield up the Sacred Fire. We see no debuff. The opponent realises they're core broken and they concede the match. Heading into the final battle of the video. Another yikes lead. Kyogre pretty good against all 3 of our Pokemon. Let's see how Sideman manages to play this one out. We farm up, throw 7 counters for optimal fast move timing. That's 14 turns versus 15 turns. Kyogre tanks the lunge. The opponent getting super greedy, allowing Sideman to make another lunge. This will be forcing a shield. The opponent does invest that shield. This is 2-stage debuffed. I imagine they're going to have to Origin Pulse to take us out. Sideman calls the Surf. Surf non-lethal. The whale now dumps all of her energy. Holy smokes, Kyogre pretty good against all of our team. However, Sideman manages to win the 1 shield. The opponent sends out Togekiss. Sideman often pivots, but he recognises that you absolutely cannot give up switch, as we need this alignment. As our Bite T-Tar would get absolutely wrecked by Charm, and ironically our Nihilego would get pretty wrecked by Dialga. Sideman getting the correct alignment that he wants, we shield up the Iron Head. We're probably going to force the final Protect Shield with the crunch. However, this should just be game over. The opponent lets it go. But at this stage now, there's just no win con for the opponent. The opponent can come in, Charm Farm us all the way down, but Nihilego, super bulky and absolutely nothing the opponent can throw is going to be all that threatening. We reach the Rock Slide. The opponent gracefully realises it's game over, and they let the charge move go through. Absolutely incredible gameplay from start to finish. Huge shout out to Sideman, who's proved that you don't need to run basic top meta, or basic bitch meta, as I prefer to say, to get to the top level. We're still really early in the season, so getting over 3,000 at this point is quite a struggle for a lot of us, myself included, and he has absolutely smashed the meta with a really spicy team. So this is a bit different from the normal content I put out. If you like this high level gameplay, post it down below and I'll look to do more of it in the future. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. Link to a battle submission form is down below, and as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.